And get started, folks. So thank you so much for being here for our Preparing for Graduation webinar today. First, we assume that the majority of you with us have a graduating student here in just a couple months. So congratulations to you and your students. This is definitely a family accomplishment, not just a singular student accomplishment. So congratulations to you all for that. Before we go any further, I want to make sure that you can hear us. So if you can, please use that chat function in your window to just let us know that yes, you can hear us. Even a simple yes is good before we get too far along, and then you can't hear us. So go ahead and do that. The chat function should be in your box there. This is Mark Pontius, the Director of Parent Family Programs. I'm usually just doing the background things, but you get to actually hear me talk today. And I'm here with two other colleagues, so I will ask to introduce themselves, and then we'll get moving.
Hi, my name is Amber. I work in the Office of the University Registrar, and I mainly work on the side of commencement.
My name is Kathy Squant. I work in the Office of the President, and I am primarily the one that coordinates the entire program for the main ceremony, and I work with the divisionals on their ceremonies as well.
All right, thank you both. So on to our next slide here. So the plan for today, just a little bit about it, is first we're going to walk through steps before that your students must take before the weekend to make sure that they're going to graduate. And then we'll talk all about the pieces related to the weekend itself, accommodations, the ceremonies, all of those type things. Following that, we'll take a short moment to talk about pieces after commencement weekend, like moving out of your students' housing, degree certification, mailing diplomas, and then finally we will wrap up with dedicated time for Q&A. But again, if there are questions that come up throughout, please make sure you use that chat function to enter them as they arise, and we will answer them as needed. So before we jump into those pieces here, this that you see on the screen right now is your best resource. It is the commencement website. We try to make some things easy, like the website address for the commencement website for you, but we highly encourage you to take time and explore that website. We'll reference it several times throughout this presentation, and as you can see, the web address is miamioh.edu/commencement. And so now on to the show.
Okay, this is Amber again from the Office of the University Registrar. So now we're going to shift into talking about the important steps before commencement weekend. So when it comes to commencement itself, there are a lot of things that happen for applying for graduation, and there is actually an area on the commencement website that is dedicated to the students, but you as the parent or a family member, whomever you may be, you can actually look at this site as well, because there's some pieces in here that you can look at and would be able to gain some information that might be helpful for you, or that maybe you could pass on to your students in case they're extremely busy right now and they're just not maybe taking the time to look at it as needed. So the commencement website, like I said, has the tab that's dedicated to our degree candidates, and it's to make sure that they're getting all of the most important information that is needed from the moment they apply to graduate through their departure from Miami. The first step that a student needs to take is to actually apply to graduate. Some students seem to think that this isn't something that they need to do, that it just happens automatically, but it is actually part of their requirements for graduation. If they don't apply, then the university doesn't actually know that they're ready to graduate, because some students may be doing multiple degrees, and so they may want to wait to apply to graduate until they have all of them. They may want to go ahead and do one and then come back and do the other. There's all kinds of different ways they may want to do this. So they may go ahead and apply to graduate by either clicking on the link on the main tab to the commencement website, or by going directly to their Banner Web account. After a student applies to graduate, the application is reviewed by the commencement office, which is where I'm at, and then it is posted to their academic record. This is done within 1 to 2 business days, and the student will be able to see this reflected on their degree audit report, which they have access to on a 24-hour basis. they will not receive an email from our office letting them know their application has been processed. We actually only email a student if their application has an issue, such as they've applied for something that is not a real degree. For instance, if they're in a pre-major program and that, of course, is something that they're not allowed to graduate with, or if they're sitting as an undeclared student at the moment, those types of deals we would apply, or we would email them and say, hey, we received your application, but at this point in time, that's something you can't graduate with, so we've removed your application, refunded your application fee. Just go ahead and reapply once you've gotten into a program that you can actually graduate with. We also recommend that students take a look at their degree audit before they apply for graduation, and then again once they have applied. And if anything is not clearing or showing as in progress, that they make an appointment with their advisor to discuss their record. The more that they talk to their academic advisor and make sure that things are correct on their application, the better off they're going to be when it comes time for graduation itself. Because once we get to that point where we can start awarding degrees, if we can get them awarded quickly, that means it shows on their record and they can start getting their transcripts, we'll get their diploma printed a lot quicker, different things like that. And there won't be any surprises to the student when it comes time for us to start awarding. Once they've completed the application for graduation and it's been processed, the students will then need to complete what we call the ceremony attendance form. This form is found under the Checklist for Graduation Candidates tab, which is where all of these pieces up at the top on your screen is part of. And this is on the Commencement website, of course, and it's only for the degree candidate to complete. We actually don't need to know how many guests a student is going to have attend the ceremony, so you don't have to worry about filling anything out for us to know. All ceremonies are open to the public. You can invite as many people as you want, and no tickets are required. The Commencement office will send emails to our students 2 to 3 times a week if they have not completed the form, just reminding them that they do need to complete it. The form actually serves 2 different purposes for us. It gives the university an accurate count of how many candidates plan to actually attend each of the ceremonies during the commencement weekend, and it also provides my office the mailing address for the diplomas for when we ship them. After that, students will then need to begin to think about their academic attire for when the commencement weekend comes. And under the checklist tab, there is actually an area that is dedicated to academic attire, and it provides information from the bookstore about when they will be selling the academic attire, as well as when the Grad Fest will be. We will actually talk about Grad Fest in just a few minutes, so I'll get into that a little more for you, or Mark will. I can't remember which one of us is going to talk about it. So also the checklist gives an overview of what to expect at the university ceremony on Saturday afternoon, as well as letting the students know what time they need to be at the stadium. Just for an FYI, for you and for your student, there is no practice ceremony. Students will just come to the stadium or go to the divisions, and they will do what's basically called a check-in. And they will receive a reader card, which will have their name on it, and that's what they use to walk across the stage when they go to the ceremony in which they are individually recognized. And if the students have questions, they can always talk to their Divisional Ceremonies liaisons, and that would be where their diploma or their degree is housed. And it is important for students to look at the departure link to see what services may be available to them from Miami to help them with life after college. There is also information about how to order official transcripts and information about the photography company that we use for the ceremonies. And we invite parents to review this information as well in case you would like to quiz your child on anything, because like I said, they're very busy right now. We're getting closer to spring break, so you know those brains are starting to think about spring break. And it's just better if we've got as many people thinking about it as we can. So now we are going to move on to Grad Fest. And this is where students can get their academic regalia. And this is also, basically it's just a one-stop shop. It's like I said, it's the academic regalia, which includes the cap, tassel, gown, cords or sashes for academic distinctions like honors. They can order graduation announcements, they can get a class ring if they like, and they can also get diploma frames. On the days of Grad Fest, there's also discounts for the cap, tassel, and gown, and there's also a discount for diploma frames. The Grad Fest that is going to be offered here in Oxford will be March 27th through the 29th. It will be in our Shriver Center in the Heritage Room. And I highly recommend that students make sure that they know the title of their degree, or degrees if they're getting more than one, before they attend the Grad Fest, because the tassel colors and hood colors if they are getting a master's degree are based on the degree a student is getting. So if a student comes in and says they are graduating with a Bachelor of Arts or a Master of Science as examples, the staff will be able to better help them know what tassel color or hood color to give them based on if the student came in and just said, I'm graduating in biology or I'm graduating in psychology. That's not very helpful to the staff because that could be a couple of different things due to the way that Miami offers those particular majors under different degrees. So what if your student can't attend the Grad Fest on these dates? We also have a Grad Fest on each of our regional campuses. It's a one-day fest on both the Hamilton and the Middletown. Those will be offered on April 3rd or April 4th. We have that information underneath the Academic Regalia tab on the Commencement website. They can also work with the campus store in person, and there's also a way to order their regalia through the bookstore, and we have that listed in the Academic Regalia link as well. Students will also receive notifications from about Grad Fest in multiple ways. My office will personally send out information through an email on behalf of the bookstore, and the bookstore should also be sending advertisements out as well.
Thanks, Amber. So now we're going to move on to the weekend itself. So first we're going to start with what has been the most delightful part of your Miami experience, which is finding accommodations in Oxford. But we're going to talk a little bit about on-campus overnight accommodations. So where are you going to sleep during this weekend? First, as you can see here on the slide, the university does offer overnight accommodations in our residence halls for Saturday night, May 19th only. Again, this is only for Saturday night. And why, you might ask? Because there are students that are living in those residence halls that don't have to be out until Friday evening at 7 p.m. And then we put a whole lot of resources into flipping a few of the residence halls to clean them and get them ready for folks to arrive by noon on Saturday. So many people will find a hotel farther out for Friday night and or for Sunday night. If they have a hotel for Friday, then they'll wake up on Saturday morning, check out of their hotel, bring all their luggage with them to Oxford, where they can check into that on-campus accommodation at noon. And this brings the major convenience of being in town after Saturday's events and before the events on Sunday. So what all does it come with, right, you might be asking. So each reservation per reservation is for a full residence hall room with 2 twin beds, which includes linens, pillows for each bed, pillowcases, a light blanket, and towels for each of those rooms. You can see there, check-in is at noon on Saturday the 19th at Beechwoods Hall, which is one of the halls pictured there. Some will stay in Beechwoods, but over 2/3 will stay in another hall. So just a small side note is don't bring your luggage in when you come in to check-in, because there's a good chance you will not be staying in there. Check-in does remain open all night on Saturday, so you don't have to be there sometime in that afternoon on Saturday. As we know, there are ceremonies going on, those types of things. There is no early check-in because of the process I mentioned earlier about the quick turnaround time from students moving out on Friday until we can have be ready for you all on Saturday. There are also accessible rooms in each of the halls, and there's a place on the reservation form to talk about that, what the accommodations are, etc. We can't always guarantee that all rooms, if you have multiple rooms for your party, will be right next to each other, but we can almost always have them all in the same building. So we do our best to do that. And then just other pieces to remember, this is, remember that they are residence hall rooms. We may think that they are great, and most times they are, but they are still residence hall rooms. And also a small note that this is, there is no TV, but there is internet, wireless internet in the rooms, but there are no TVs in each of the rooms or anything like that. And then another note is we can't assign people to specific halls or to a hall where you might have a younger student living or to the apartments on campus. etc. The university selects a few halls and then again turns them over as fast as possible when the students move out on Friday. So the next question, of course, is where can you go to reserve those? And no surprise, there's a link on the Commencement website where you'll find a section on accommodations and details about pricing and all of those pieces as well. Another option on campus is to bring an RV. We see a lot of folks do this, which brings you close to campus and is relatively convenient. There are spaces available in our Dittmer lot, which is the lot on the east side of town near the police department and the equestrian center, but those do not come with hookups for power. There's no charge to bring an RV and park it in that lot, and you can arrive on Friday and leave on Sunday or Monday. And we'll talk more about transportation in a moment, but there will be shuttle buses running around during the weekend to get people to and from, including that Dittmer parking lot. There were spaces available in the Millette lot, which is just right outside our basketball arena and the football stadium, but those were all reserved within the first hour that they were open in early January. Otherwise, as you may know by now, you probably know by now, hotels are near impossible to get in Oxford on any weekend, let alone this weekend. The piece of advice that I've found over the few years of working with parents trying to find places is to book farther out and stay in the residence hall on Saturday night, and or book farther out and just keep checking Oxford hotels. I'm continuously amazed by the number of people who end up finding a room in Oxford the week or two before family weekends or commencement, and because they found other people canceled. So it's just it happens more often than you would think. The other tip is to use a website that as you're doing these kind of continuous searching and looking to check if anything opened up, is to use a page that searches across multiple hotels like Expedia or Hotels.com or something like that, so it can pull up any availability in Oxford all at once. And then additionally, there are many options for non-hotel accommodations through things like Airbnb and those types of things that are kind of a developing market in Oxford. So now we're going to turn it to the university ceremony, and I'm going to turn it over to Kathy.
Okay, and as you will see on the slide, for the university ceremony, it is going to be held on Saturday, May 19th at 1:30 at Yeager Stadium. Students will be asked to arrive by 12:30. There will be designated areas down at Yeager where each division will gather. This ceremony is rain or shine, unless the weather is dangerous to our guests and students. We will hold the ceremony. So always watch the website for any last-minute updates about the ceremony. The stadium does have concessions, and we're going to talk about security, parking, and accessibility. Okay, as I mentioned before, watch the website for any last-minute issues regarding the ceremony, and this includes traffic issues. We don't typically find out about major projects on US 27 or 73 until the last minute, and so there may be detours. So we will have directional signs up to Yeager as soon as you arrive on campus, and if there is any detours on 73 or 27, we will have signs, detour routes on those roads as well. The overall university ceremony is on, as I said, Saturday at 1:30 at Yeager. The ceremony lasts approximately 90 minutes to 2 hours. The stadium will open up 2 hours beforehand, and graduates, again, need to arrive by 12:30. Inside the stadium is open seating, and seats are not held, with the exception of some for accessibility and mobility needs. And as Amber mentioned earlier, no tickets are required for this ceremony or any of the ceremonies held that weekend. The weather can be rather hot, or it could be pouring rain and cold. Seating inside the stadium is not covered, so we recommend sunscreen, umbrellas, ponchos, and you might want to pack both because the weather's rather dicey this time of year. The call is made for inclement weather the morning of the ceremony. The ceremony will be canceled only if there's dangerous weather likely, which means a threat of lightning or a tornado. Miami University Police Department will be the one to make the call on the cancellation, and if canceled, the news will be distributed by all means possible, including our emergency text service and social media, etc., and the website. Concessions will be open inside the stadium for food. You can also bring food into the stadium. We will have security, so be prepared. And for the safety of all of our guests, be prepared for bag checks when you enter. Please leave what you don't need in the ceremony in your car. On the website, you will find a list of prohibited and admissible items. And as I mentioned, umbrellas are allowed. Please review that list before you come to the ceremony. And students are advised to come to Jaeger carrying their cap and gown. They're not actually advised, they're required. We are very conscientious of what is being brought onto the Jaeger Stadium field, and therefore that is why we ask that they carry their cap and gown down to Jaeger instead of having it on when they arrive. Accessible parking will be available. We highly recommend that any parents coming into town prior to Saturday do a quick drive by Jaeger Stadium for a preview to see how things are set up, and especially if you have parents with mobility needs. We will have golf cart transportation from the lots to the stadium and tons of signage on Saturday. If it's a nice day and you're able to walk, we highly recommend that you walk because traffic will be very busy in and out of town. Okay, now we're going to go into, in addition to the main ceremony, each academic division offers a ceremony during the weekend, or divisional ceremonies, as you can see on the slide. These ceremonies take place in various indoor locations, and all of which can be found on the Commencement website. And you'll see the times for each of the ceremonies listed on the slide. Additionally, there are receptions and graduation ceremonies throughout the weekend, or special gatherings, such as the honors reception at 11 a.m. on Saturday. We try to post as many of these that we know about on the website. Oftentimes there might be a reception for a particular group that we have not been told about, and that might be why you wouldn't see something on the website that your student has told you about. As for accessibility for these ceremonies, if you have a family member coming who uses a disabled placard, we recommend that you bring the placard with you. There are also a limited number of wheelchairs available at each venue for the various ceremonies. If you have a student with a disability that impacts the ceremony, please make sure that they are in touch with Student Disability Services so that office can communicate with the individual divisions. We work with Student Disability Service to make sure that the Jaeger Stadium ceremony takes care of any of our students with disabilities as well as the divisional ceremonies. Please note that the dean for each academic division presides over those ceremonies. President Crawford does not attend the divisional ceremonies. Another note particularly related to the College of Arts and Science, this is a very large division, and we recommend getting to the ceremony early. Seating, it gets pretty tight within that ceremony at Millett Hall. Finally, the Commencement website lists contacts for each ceremony and more information about each divisional ceremony.
And I'll note really quickly that I just realized that I missed the day for the Creative Arts one. It is also on Sunday at 10 a.m. I know it just says 10 a.m. on the slide. It does not say the day. It is on Sunday. Only Engineering and Computing and Arts and Science are on Saturday.
And one other thing, the College of Liberal Arts and Applied Science, their ceremony is actually outside. They're the only division that is outside. Everybody else will be inside.
And for those that are wondering if they've never heard of that college, that is the college that makes up all of our regional campus degree programs, but some students on our campus may graduate from that college as well as a college on your campus. Okay, so on to parking and transportation. So we know where we're sleeping, the ceremonies we're attending, how are you getting around town, right? To start off, every single parking lot on our campus will be open for public parking with the exception of the Jaeger Stadium lot itself, down there by Millett Hall and Jaeger Stadium. Permits are not being enforced at all on campus starting on Wednesday, May 16th. And this is also part of students moving out of the residence halls and parents coming to pick them up and et cetera. But they're not being enforced starting on May 16th. And that non-enforcement goes through Tuesday morning on May 22nd. And that's when we begin our summer term and enforcement begins again. This means that this does not mean, though, that you can park anywhere. The disabled spaces and fire lanes are enforced, and those types of things. But any legal parking spot you can park in on campus. We'll have regular transit routes as our regular semester schedule will run through 5 p.m. on Friday, May 18th. And then on Saturday, there will be shuttle service, some special routes that are determined by what residence halls we have family members staying in, etc., between all of the different places, the main places on campus as well. And then there's also ADA service available during the time the shuttle service is operating. While we do offer the golf cart rides from accessible parking to the main Jaeger ceremony, there is not general golf cart service available across campus for the entire weekend. And one other big thing to note is that the City of Oxford does still enforce many of its parking regulations that weekend. And there's a link on the commencement website that takes you to the parking page for the City of Oxford, so you can still see the kind of details of their enforcement. And Kathy mentioned this just a minute ago, but if there are any construction projects that will have major impacts on the kind of main thoroughfares into Oxford, that information will be posted and likely will be sent out to parents by my office as well. So now what are you going to eat is the next question. So first, the University Catering does offer delivered catered meals in various increments. If you want to host a party, you can see that first piece there on the left. You can see that the options, there are 4 different options. A grill option that includes hamburgers, hot dogs, baked beans, potato chips, etc. The barbecue option, which is the most popular, includes barbecue pork, grilled chicken breast, coleslaw, mac and cheese, baked beans. There's a toasted bagel option that includes an assortment of bagels with cream cheeses and some meats and cheese to kind of make sandwiches with them. And then there's a deli buffet option that includes deli meats for sandwiches, chips, and pasta salad. And all of those 4 options include condiments, an assortment of canned soft drinks and water, lots of delicious cookies, and all of the paper goods. And it can be delivered or it can be picked up as well. And then there are 2 larger hosted meals on commencement weekends that you can see on the slide. First, the Saturday evening buffet, 4 to 6 p.m. in the Markham Hotel on campus, with a menu that includes carved grilled flank steak, assorted rice and vegetable sides, assorted desserts, and much, much more. And you can see the pricing there as well. And then there's also a Sunday brunch on Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., also at the Markham, with different breakfast breads, a seasonal fruit assortment, ham, bacon, 2 different types of eggs, a Belgian waffle bar, and then, of course, all the different beverages, coffee, and etc. Information and places to reserve these things will be up on the commencement website soon. It's not there yet, but it will be on the commencement website. Additionally, just eating-wise, in general, I've heard lots of families who combine with the other families of the place where the student lives. So 4 or 5 students living in a house or apartment. They combine with those families just to host a cookout or something like that during the weekends, rather than trying to find a place to go out and eat in town, which of course will be busy. And this is where that delivered catering might come in handy, or purchasing something on your own as well. And then finally, there are dining centers open on campus, where if you're looking for something smaller or for food kind of outside larger celebration meals, but you want something close by.
And it is Kathy Squants again, and I wanted to talk to you quickly about the President's Reception that will be held on Sunday, May 20th at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. All graduates and families are encouraged to join President and Greg Crawford and Dr. Renata Crawford at Lewis Place for this reception. All family members are welcome. Please note, though, that this does occur while some divisional ceremonies are still going on. It's an informal reception that's an open house style. All candidates and their families are welcome to attend. We have no limits to the size of your group. And many of the families will come right before they'll go to a ceremony. So the students will come in their cap and gowns, and will quickly stop by and say hello to President Crawford and Dr. Crawford, and then they're off to their divisional ceremony. So we hope you can all join us for the reception on Sunday the 20th.
All right, so now the weekend is over and the cakes are eaten, the gifts are opened. Now what do we do, right? So a little bit more about after the weekend. First, we'll talk a little bit about moving out of Oxford. Of course, that frenzy happens, right? That's when the frenzy begins in earnest, usually Monday morning, Sunday evening. And since we have your ear, we're going to give you a few tips and requests related to this busy part of the weekend as well, that is often kind of forgotten in all the planning for the big ceremonial type exciting pieces. First, we just really encourage our students not to throw away really good used stuff, right, that they may not want to bring with them, or you may not want to lug back to wherever they're going, right? You don't want to put all the cans of soup and that decent futon in the car to take it back home, but there are definitely still people that can benefit from it. That's why we have something called ShareFest Oxford that's been operating for years in Oxford. ShareFest is a service and environmental nonprofit corporation that is dedicated to collecting and redistributing items donated by Miami students in the Oxford community at the end of each academic year. So hopefully you've been hearing about this for each year that your student has been at Miami around the April-May time. Collected items benefit residents in need and social service agencies throughout the kind of Southwest Ohio region. And so it's relatively straightforward. Students can make a pickup appointment right on the ShareFest website, and you'll get more information about this too as it gets closer, and so will they. But it's just sharefestoxford.com, and then volunteers will come and pick up the items from wherever they are. It is really that simple. We also know that there are lots of things that are in no condition to be donated and are truly trash, right? We don't want that half-full bottle of ketchup, and you don't need to move it home either. Big tip for the trash is bring lots of extra trash bags and even collect collapsed boxes if you're driving to Oxford. I can't tell you the number of houses that we drive past on Monday and Tuesday morning in Oxford, and it is a mess. It is not pretty. They look terrible out front because people were in a rush, right, as they are, of course, trying to get ready to get out of there. But there's trash that's just been dumped out at the curb in bags or container, that aren't in bags or in containers. So help your students remember there are people that live and work here throughout the summer, and they wouldn't want to leave their own hometown looking literally like a dump as they walked away and drove out. But enough of that admonishment of keeping our town clean, but we're going to on to learning about when your student will get that really, really nice piece of paper that they've been working towards, and Amber will talk about degree certification and diplomas.
So once the ceremony is over with, I just want to stress that the ceremony is just that. It is the ceremony to, praise and just celebrate the accomplishments that your student and you and your family and everybody has, done for the last 4+ years. But this doesn't mean at that point in time that your student has actually graduated yet, because the degrees are not awarded at the time that your student will walk across the stage. At the divisional ceremonies, your student will receive a red diploma cover from the university, and inside of it does have a letter that states that, congratulations, we're happy that, you've made it this far, and, pending the completion of final grades and the certification of your record, you will receive your diploma in 4 to 6 weeks. And the reason why this is because final grade or finals actually go all the way up until the time of the actual ceremony. So there's just really no way for us to be able to sit there and be able to have professors give the final and then be able to get those final grades in and us be able to turn around and immediately be able to, award a student and then have their diplomas ready to go for the next day. So final grades are actually due at noon on the Tuesday after commencement weekend. So degrees will not begin awarding until around Thursday of that week due to end-of-term processes that must happen first. We let the students know this as well in emails that we send to them, because we do know that there are some students that need to have information as quickly as possible, whether it's because of the type of job that they're getting, or if they happen to be an international student and they're going back home and they need to have some sort of a proof. They at least have that timeline to get them ready to go, and so they can work with our office to get something as quickly as possible. Once the degree has been awarded, a student will not be able to access their degree audit any longer, and they will actually be able to see their degree awarded status on their official and unofficial transcripts. They will not be emailed their to let them know that their degree has been awarded. So once again, we do let them know about this. We tell them in an email once we get closer to the end of the term, just saying, you know, just remember that you'll be able to see this information on your official and unofficial transcripts. We also let them know that, you know, you will lose the ability to see your degree audit because this is something that you're working, that is used to work towards being awarded. So therefore, once you're awarded your degree, there's no reason for it. But if you need to have a copy of it because you may need to know your major GPA or something for the type of job that you're going for, we do let them know to print a copy out just as their final grades are coming out so that they have that for their records. And we do also let students know that they should not order an official transcript until after they know their degree has been awarded, if they need to know or have it show that their degree status has been, you know, updated. If they don't need to have the degree awarded show on there, then they can, you know, order a transcript at any point. But if they do need to have that degree awarded show on there, they need to wait because there is no way for the system to hold their request until it shows that they have been awarded. So if they put it in too early, their transcript will be sent without that notation that their degree has been awarded. Like I said, diplomas will be mailed 4 to 6 weeks after the conferral date, which is May 19th. And that is, the diploma will be mailed to the address the student provided to the commencement office when they completed the ceremony attendance form that I mentioned at the very beginning. If the mailing address does need to change, though, between the time that the student finishes the term and about the time that we start mailing out the diplomas, they can email the commencement office, and it's just commencement@miamioh.edu, and we have that email address all over the website as well. And they'll want to do that as soon as possible so that we can get that information updated, because the diplomas are actually mailed out from our vendor, and so they will send the diploma directly to the student and to the address that we give to them. So if the student's address changes, we have to let them know immediately. The student will also be sent an email to their Miami email account when their diploma is mailed, just to let them know that it's on their way. And that's a courtesy that is sent from the vendor on behalf of our office, so that the student just has a good idea of when that's going to be sent out. And for any diploma that is mailed to an international address, my office will actually contact that student to verify the address that we're going to be sending it to, just to make sure we have everything that we can to make sure the diploma is actually sent to the student in a timely manner.
All right, so we have officially made it through all of the things that we thought were important to talk to you about. We've got one question here that we have in so far, and then otherwise please start typing in your questions, and we'll answer them as we can. I'm going to change this slide over to kind of a general contact information slide so you can have this as well. So if you want to start entering your questions, and we will answer them. The one that we had so far was about GradFest and diploma frames.
Mm-hmm. So the question was, will the bookstore website have pricing options for diploma frames that students can get during GradFest? And if I remember correctly from the last time I looked at their website, they actually do have pricing up right now on frames that they have. And any frame that they have on their website now will be the same frames that will be available during GradFest. And they should have pricing up at this moment, but they won't have the price that, basically they won't have the reduction price that is going to be offered at GradFest on the website. That will only be shown at the actual GradFest because they are only offering it at the GradFest itself. So if you wanted to, you could actually contact the bookstore, and we have the number up there on that question. And if you contact that, you will get in touch with somebody who may be able to give you an answer on whether or not they can tell you what those prices are going to be. That number is actually a newer number to the bookstore because they have gone through a couple of renovations lately. So just give them a call and they should be able to help you with that.
We saw another question here about graduation speaker, the main speaker for the Jaeger ceremony. We don't know that yet, so it won't be announced yet.
This is Kathy weighing in from the President's office. As soon as a speaker is announced, a press release will be made, and we will update the website.
Then we had another one ask if caps and gowns are available for purchase at the bookstore after Grad Fest. They certainly are. And then also, let's see, we had one say, are the frames you're talking about, the diploma frames, wood? Yes, they are the wood, like the picture frames essentially, usually with a nice mat that has the Miami seal on it, etc. The thing that they would hang somewhere to proudly display their Miami diploma. The diplomas are delivered in, they'll get a nice red cover at graduation itself.
Yes. So at the ceremonies, if they go to the ceremonies, they'll get a red cover that they could either keep their diploma in when they get it, or they can just display it. I actually just talked to a father a couple of days ago that his daughter didn't get one because she didn't attend the ceremony, and so I mailed one to them, and he actually sent me a picture of where they proudly displayed it in their house because it was just something that they really liked. So that's just another option. It's just something that the university gives to our students to just so that they have something when they walk across that stage to give them, you know, just a really nice piece for the ceremony. But when the diploma comes, it just comes in a standard mailer, and they just pull it out of the mailer, and it's just the diploma itself.
Thanks, Amber. So another question was, when can students begin to apply for graduation? Now, as soon as they possibly can?
Please apply immediately,
yes. Yep.
Because the earlier that a student applies for graduation, the better off they are. The reason why we have deadlines posted is for a couple of different reasons. One of the bigger reasons is because our office works with each of the divisions to try to get students taken care of in regards to their degree audits. So we run reports, the divisions run reports, trying to figure out if a student is not clearing, and then working with the divisions to work then with those students to get them taken care of. There's also the issue of running our commencement program. And so we want to make sure we have as many students in the program as we possibly can. But there is a deadline in which we have to cut off in regards to having names in the program. So the earlier that a student applies for graduation, the better chances that they are going to be in the program. We'll start working on the program in April, so at this moment in time, I can guarantee anybody who has applied by the end of March is definitely going to be in the May program. At this moment in time, we actually have one academic year open for graduation. So a student can apply for May, August, or December 2018, as well as January 2019 graduation.
So then another question we had was if there's questions about like the student's name and how it will appear on the diploma, that would be contacting Amber's office, probably by the commencement at Miami OH email.
Yes, please contact us by the email. We can verify how the name is put into the system. When the student applies for graduation, they actually tell us how they would like the name on the diploma. But if they were questioning maybe how they put it in, we can verify for them how it is in the system for them, and then if something needs to change, we'll work with them. For instance, if a student wants their middle name, but it's not in our system, there is a little paperwork that they're going to need to do because we have to have their full legal name showing in the system before we can change that for the diploma. But we'll tell them where to get that paperwork. It's really simple. They just fill this form out, send a copy of some sort of legal document, whether it's a driver's license or, you know, birth certificate, anything like that, that, you know, shows that middle name or whatnot, and then we'll get the system updated, and then we can update their diploma name for them.
So we had another question about whether meters are being enforced on campus, and they are not being enforced on campus. Again, the City of Oxford may be different, so making sure you pay close attention to if it's a City of Oxford meter or an on-campus meter. And so the one big one that always confuses folks is Campus Avenue, which is the far west side of campus, near the education building. And those are Oxford meters, and they are enforced. Then we also had a question about if a student only attends the divisional ceremony and not the main ceremony, when will they receive their diploma cover? They receive that at the divisional. All students receive it at the divisional. except for the PhD candidates if they're getting a doctorate. They only walk across the stage at the divisional ceremony for bachelor's students.
And
masters.
And master's students.
Bachelor and master. Okay, so associate degree, bachelor degree, and master degree students need to attend the divisional ceremony if they would like to walk across the stage and have their name read. Our PhD students need to attend the university ceremony because that is where they are recognized, and that is where they're hooded by their PhD professor. So if you have further questions about that, please email Commencement, and we'll be happy to try to lay that out a little better for you. But all students are welcome to attend both the divisional and the university, with the exception of our PhD, because the only ceremony that they can attend is the university. But all of our master, bachelor, and associate degree students are welcome to attend both the university and the divisional. But if they would like to have their name read and walk across the stage, then they definitely want to attend their divisional ceremony.
And then we had another question about whether or not there'll be a professional photographer at the big Jaeger ceremony and at the divisional ceremonies, and Kathy's going to take that one.
All right, so on our website, you'll see a link to Grad Images. That is the company we are working with for our photography for the weekend. The Grad Images staff will be all over Jaeger for that ceremony and photographing the PhD candidates, and we'll be reaching out to those candidates with photos after the ceremony. And then at the divisional ceremony, as well as the students come off each of the stage, they'll stop, have their photograph taken, and again, Grad Images will reach out very quickly to all the students with the professional photos that they have taken, and give you options for purchase. And again, you can find more information about the photography company by clicking on the link on the website.
And I'm sorry, let me add something to that. I work with the photography company towards the end of the semester, and we will actually send something to our students who are degree candidates asking them to do the pre-registration with a photography company. This pre-registration with a photography company will actually give the photography company all the information they need in order to be able to do the reach out to the student and to you as needed. So the photography company will ask them information such as, what is your name, what is your email address, what is a local, or not a local, but what is a mailing address for you, things of that sort, so that once the weekend is over with and they start downloading the pictures and everything like that, they can get those proofs back to you and to the student as quickly as possible. If I remember correctly, it's actually within 48 hours or less that you will get those proofs to you. If it's not to you directly, then your student will get it into their Miami email. If your student doesn't do the pre-registration, then when they pick up their reader card at the divisional ceremony, the reader card is actually something that the photography company will pick up at the end of the ceremony, and on the back of it is where they can put that same information, and the photography company will then use it. The photography company will then, if they still don't have that information from either the pre-registration or from the ceremony, they will then come back and reach out to my office and ask for that information for anybody they didn't get it, and we will do our best to locate some information for them, whether it's just an email address for the student or a local mailing address, something that we can do to try to help them get that picture to you or at least to the student so that you can see it. And, if we still can't get in touch with them, you can always contact them and they can try to track it down for you.
Thanks. So there's a question about the Markham dinner on Saturday evening and if it sells out quickly. I believe it's sold out in the past, but I'm not sure how fast it has sold out. So if that's of interest, I would recommend getting the registration piece done for that. Again, it's not up on the Commencement website yet, but it will be in the next few days, we hope, and then you'll be able to do that. We also had a question about whether students wear their cap and gown to both the main and the divisional ceremonies. Absolutely. Please have them get at least 2 uses out of their cap and gown in addition to the pictures that they take. And then there was also a request to go back to the divisional ceremony slide, so I'm going to do that really quickly here. And if there are other questions, please type them in, but I think we're about through all the questions that we had. So please type those in. let's see here. There we go. So there's the divisional slide for a couple moments here. And again, just as a reminder, if you're typing in those last questions, just as you're doing that, a recording of this thing itself, as well as the slides, will be sent out to everyone that registered for this, and it'll be posted on my office's website, which is the same place that you registered for this. So a question was just put in of how long do the divisional ceremonies last? Specifically, the question was about our School of Business. Do we know?
90 minutes. I would say 90 minutes. Again, most of the ceremonies are anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours. It's pretty standard.
I would plan on 90 minutes to 2 hours. Always veer towards the later time. So plan on 2 hours just to be on the safe side. If you're making any plans in regards to travel plans for returning home, or if you're making any plans for any type of dinners, things like that.
Okay, so we had another question about where can students get more than one copy of a diploma?
The university only issues one copy of a diploma to a student. If a student happens to need a copy for, let's say they're going out of the country because they're going to be teaching or the type of job, and therefore they need a copy because of a visa purpose and they have to have it notarized, things of that sort, then they can go to the One Stop website and go to the Find Form, and they can complete the replacement diploma form. And that would be considered the apostille process, and we'll work with the student in that regard. But like I said, the university does only issue one copy of the diploma.
Another question about places to eat on campus if they have food allergies or during the weekends.
At this moment in time, we're not exactly sure in regards to the different locations that Miami itself is going to have open. So I can't really answer those questions, but the best thing that I would recommend is once we have the housing or the dining portion of the website up, there will be an email address at the bottom for, I think it's like conference services at Miami OH. I would highly recommend emailing that address and letting them know what kind of dietary restrictions and things of that sort you may have, because then they can let you know if there are certain places that would not be good for you to eat based on the type of locations that we are going to have open.
Perfect. Any last questions that you all have? Otherwise, I believe we've made it through all of them. Hold on just a moment here. Are dining halls open for lunch, brunch, etc.? Just regular ones that are not for these special meals? I believe they are.
In the past, they have been. We will know 100% in the next couple of days. I'm actually waiting for dining services to get back with me about what exactly they're going to have open. But in the past, they have actually had locations in, for instance, in our Armstrong Center that have been open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And my hope is to have those same places open. But, you know, if they get back to me today, I will definitely work on the website to get that information updated and out there for you guys. But as soon as they get that information to me, I will work on the website to have that posted. In case you hadn't figured that out, I also put the information on the website.
All right, so one last question here. It looks like only PhD graduates are individually recognized at the stadium on Saturday, and that is correct. Yep, not all 7,000 students are recognized on stage on Saturday. The divisional ceremonies is where individual names are read. Any last questions? Otherwise, thank you all so much. And again, this recording will be posted and sent out later today or tomorrow. Congratulations again, and we look forward to seeing you on campus in 2.5 months.
And don't hesitate to call us on the university commencement on questions later. We have listed the president's office number, and that is me, Kathy Squant. If you have any questions regarding the ceremonies, don't hesitate to call.
All right. Thank you all so much.